Hey everybody, Nick Kypreos here, Real Kyper at noon. 3 top storylines out of Thursday night. Number 1, Connor McJesus at it again. Spectacular night, bringing the Edmonton Oilers a huge, already real early, necessary win for the Edmonton fans who very much believe that they are playoff bound. And how about my old team, the New York Rangers? Where was the hype? One of the best young teams in the National Hockey League. Go read the clips in the New York Post today. Quite ugly. And the third one, well, we'll tee up tonight, Colorado and St. Louis. We want to talk about a flat team in New York. Talk about Colorado in that first game. This is one of the teams that's supposed to win the Stanley Cup here. We didn't see that in game 1, but right off the top, Connor McDavid. You watch that second game compared to the first game, and you could easily have said that Connor, with his 4 or 5 chances, including a breakaway in game 1, could have had a similar night that he had in game 2, but goose egg in that first game. And I watched that second game last night by the Oilers, and I texted a good friend and I said, same old Edmonton Oilers. And they're like, what are you talking about? They're way better tonight and they're going to win. And I'm going to say yes. But when you watch the Oilers the last few years, it's simple math. Connor McDavid bust. If he is not the best player on the planet for you and he's not scoring, you don't win. We saw that in game 1 and we saw that in game 2. That second goal, guys, 2.5 seconds on the clock, and Connor McDavid goes through Vancouver's defense like a hot knife through butter. It's phenomenal. You got Nate Schmidt on the ice. You got Edler, and you're not watching the most dangerous player in the world who scores with 2.5 seconds on the clock off a face-off. Well, I'll tell you who, Connor McDavid. And then, of course, there's that power play goal where he's streaming about 100 miles an hour through the neutral zone. You got to feel for a guy like Edler. Standing there, flat-footed, pretty experienced guy. One of the best defenders Vancouver has. And he looked ridiculous. Standing there, flat-footed, while Connor McDavid buries one again against Demko. But this is what you get with the Edmonton Oilers. Is there enough depth around this guy? And listen, I'm not disrespecting their MVP and Draisaitl and Nugent Hopkins. Of course, they're very much influential for the Edmonton Oilers, but it's the same old with the Edmonton Oilers. Depth scoring. Yamamoto looks like an everyday player, so he's going to come in. He's fit in nicely since getting the bump up last season with Draisaitl. But it's clear that you're not going to have Draisaitl and Connor McDavid play together anymore. So that's where you've got to come in with the 1-2 punch. Here's the problem in Edmonton is that there's not enough Nugent Hopkins to go around. Now, Connor gets Nugent Hopkins, which is a no-brainer. What Connor wants, Connor gets. I'm sure Draisaitl would still like to have him and Yamamoto together, but that's not going to happen. Dom Cahoon, can he come in now and be a top 6 guy? That's a question mark in itself. So where is the depth scoring from here on in? I didn't see a lot of it in game 2. I saw Connor, Draisaitl, and Nuge, but outside of that, you got to start wondering for Edmonton Oilers fans where that fits in. Kyle Turris hasn't been horrible, but hasn't looked exactly like the guy that we probably loved more so in Ottawa than anywhere else. Kyle Turris comes in, Puljujarvi, better player, stronger player, but folks, he'll never be that 4th pick overall. Okay, he's never going to get up to that franchise superstar type of tag that's usually reserved for top 4 picks in an NHL draft. That's not happening. But with Archibald and Turris, can you get some scoring going out of that third line? Turris, of course, is much like a Wayne Simmons, where you're still in your early 30s, but have you lost it? Can you be that player that you were 3 years ago? Like Wayne Simmons, could you be that player in Philadelphia, not so much that player in Buffalo and New Jersey? That's what Oiler fans want to see. They want to see that guy that went to almost a Stanley Cup final with the Ottawa Senators. Okay, that's the guy that they want to see. So a lot of question marks still. I'm sure there's a level of frustration, and make no mistake about it. At the end of game 1 against Vancouver, Connor McDavid gave Quinn Hughes a pretty good shot. Now you could sit there and say, "Hey, what's his beef with Quinn Hughes?" No. That's not a hit on Quinn Hughes. That's a message that I don't know how patient I'm going to be if this keeps going on in terms of not feeling like this team is making strides. Now we know Connor McDavid has that long-term deal, and I'm sure when he signed it, he wants to fulfill it. But if there aren't significant signs in the next little while that this team is going somewhere, I think we're going to start hearing some frustration noises out of Connor McDavid. All right, enough about the Oilers. They've got a bigger challenge on the weekend. The Montreal Canadiens come in. Yeah, Montreal looked good against Toronto, but they have to be a shutdown team first. And say what you will about how great Suzuki was, Josh Anderson, Carey Price can't let 5 goals in a game. Okay. And I don't think he has any plans of going into Edmonton against the Oilers, giving up 5 goals. So we'll watch that and we'll touch on that come Monday. Okay. Now to the New York Rangers, one of the youngest teams in the league, up and comer. Now they had a hiccup in the bubble last year, but you can also look at it as a learning experience. I'm not sure what they learned between then and game 1. And as I mentioned earlier, go read the clips in the New York Post today. No mercy, man, on a young club. They stunk. They were embarrassed. The Islanders came in and fed them their lunch. And you look at Quinn now, and where do you go from here? Well, certainly you've got to look at your young players, and were there jitters? Were they nervous? Lafreniere comes in with this tag on his first pick overall as a can't miss, and we all know he's going to be a terrific player. And we know he's skilled. We know he's strong, mature. He can handle situations. But he had a little bit of a deer in headlights, much like the whole hockey club had. Shesterkin now. King Henry's gone. It's on you, bud. This is your moment. This is your time to step up. Big difference when you're coming off the bench than you are starting with the expectations to lead, to perhaps win a Calder Trophy for Rookie of the Year. And of course, that cliche that we just spoke moments ago about the Oilers, your best players have to be your best players. Zibanejad, of course, battling a few things off the ice, compressed training camp with the amount of times that he skated, 5 shots on goal, no points, of course. Panarin, 17 minutes, another no-show. Just not engaged, the whole team. But your players, your top players have to show up. And as far as that blue line is concerned, always a challenge in terms of who's the star on that team. Well, you suppose it's Jacob Trouba. When you make $8 million, you got to be the best player on your blue line, right? Didn't look that way to me. So they've got a ton of work to do. And as we start hearing more and more talk about that superstar in Columbus, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and his availability, I'm hearing as many as 10 or 12 teams interested, including the New York Rangers. Do they have enough pieces? One of those can't miss superstars, drafted 2nd pick overall. Capo Caco. Okay. Didn't look that great last night. Now, listen, Oilers, Rangers, I know it's early. I get it. But you still have to show up. And there are ways to look good still without necessarily scoring a goal or winning a hockey game. Just didn't get that. But going back to the Rangers being one of those teams that might be interested, there's a shortcoming at center ice position for a lot of hockey clubs. A lot of hockey clubs would love a 6'3", 225-pound, 22-year-old centerman, and the Rangers are right there. Is it Hurdle? Is it Capo? Is it a pick? Is it another prospect? Can the Rangers maybe be a team that would be interested in Pierre-Luc Dubois? I would suspect if we see a little bit more of what we saw in Game 1 out of the New York Rangers, they'll be knocking a little bit more aggressively in maybe the weeks ahead. And I know a lot of people sitting there going, there won't be many trades involved. But that Luc Dubois, he put Columbus in a predicament where I don't think they have any other choice but to move him. And I think it could happen in the next 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Columbus didn't look that good either. And that is a huge distraction. So we'll keep an eye on the New York Rangers and Pierre-Luc Dubois moving forward. Second of back-to-back between St. Louis Blues and the Colorado Avalanche. Could the Avs now take a page out of Connor McDavid's book and have Nathan MacKinnon come up with a huge game? First game, losers 4-1 at home. No question, Coach Bednar was disappointed in the compete and that level. But how often do you think that we're going to see Colorado play in a hockey game when MacKinnon and Cale Makar are just average? I certainly don't like their chances of that happening in Game 2, much like we didn't like the chances of maybe Connor McDavid going back-to-back with no points. So they're going to be a lot better. We're also going to see a switch. Burakovsky, who's been a nice addition in Colorado, will probably be bumped down to the second line in that first game. I think Bednar tried to go a little heavy with Landeskog, Burakovsky, and Saad. Saad, of course, coming over from Chicago, but go with old reliable. Rantanen, Landeskog, and MacKinnon. Has there been a better line in the National Hockey League the last few years outside of maybe that great line in Boston around Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak? No. So go with old reliable. And Colorado will be much better tonight. We'll be back on Monday. And of course, we'll have Doug MacLean to wrap everything up. I gave him a break today on this Friday. He, of course, has packed up his RV and heading towards Tampa Bay to get a dolly. He had to explain to me because I think that's a 1950s term. He wants to be able to keep his car tagged on the back with this dolly. Do we have any footage? Jordan, I know you're out there, pal. Do we have any footage of Doug right now at all?
Doug texted me earlier today. We have the stuff on screen for you right now. It's a very nice retro image. I think Doug he's going into the DIY landscape here on YouTube.
Mac, wash the thing. Change the oil. Okay? Use some polish. That's not making the Real Kyper at Noon show proud. Maybe get a logo, plaster it on the side. What do you think, Jordan?
I think that could be good. I think anything is an improvement over this, but we just have to always pass it by Jill, I think. We know who makes the rules here.
We're hoping that the wheels stay on long enough to bring you back home, Max, so you can join us on the Real Kyper at Noon show on Monday. For all of you watching maybe for the first time, hey, subscribe. We'll let you know when we're coming on. Hit that like button. Let us know that you love us. We'll see you on Monday.